Hello and welcome to this week's Wellness, Wealth and Mindset Weekly, personal lessons and experiences from a past week. So let's get straight into this week's show. Health-wise, it's been clear for me that I've been talking to a few people and the idea of health has come up in terms of what you view yourself to be healthy. I think this is a really interesting topic because a lot of us might say we're healthy, but actually when you look at all the key biomarkers to are you really that healthy? And this was quite apparent, especially for me during COVID, when the news would report that a healthy young adult died of COVID. But you saw a picture of them in the newspaper and they were overweight. So if someone's carrying excess body fat, clearly they are not healthy because the excess body fat is going to risk of heart disease, diabetes, compromise the immune system, affect the body's ability to fight disease and infection. So are we using the term healthy, quote unquote, too loosely? I feel we are, because essentially, unless you have healthy levels of body fat, you're exercising regularly, you don't smoke, you don't drink excessively, you have biomarkers in terms of your sleep quality, your cholesterol levels, your blood sugar levels, your muscle mass, all these factors play a key role in terms of you being a healthy individual. And even one of those individual factors not being at their optimum surely could limit you in terms of whether you can classify yourself as healthy. While you might feel healthy in yourself, how healthy could you feel if you were getting more sleep, if you've potentially suffered with sleep but you've got used to it and that's just your norm now? You don't know the alternative of how good you might feel by having a consistent amount of good sleep. Or if you're not doing any exercise but you feel pretty healthy in yourself, and then you do loads of exercise, you realise that actually how healthy you felt by not doing exercise actually wasn't as healthy as you might perceived it. And once you do the exercise, you realise how healthy you've become because of the activity you've engaged in. And same when it comes to losing body fat, increasing muscle mass, obviously improving your nutrient value of your diet. All these factors are very key factors when it comes to managing your health and well-being. And I think brushing off the term healthy to individuals and I don't understand why my family member is suffering with high blood pressure because they're healthy. But actually, if they don't do any exercise, they might be carrying a little bit of excess body fat, their diet might be high in salt, and they might drink a bit too much. Is it any surprise that their blood pressure over time is because of their lifestyle choices over a number of weeks, months and years? So I think it's a really important message to really think about this week when it comes to health. And are you viewing yourself as healthy, but that's just maybe a smokescreen to cover up the fact that you're not doing any exercise, you might be drinking too much, you might be smoking, you're not getting enough sleep, carrying a bit of extra body fat. And even though you feel okay in yourself, is okay good enough? And should we be searching for excellence rather than just being okay? Because I think actually just being okay is probably going to lead down the road to you having an increased risk for those complications when it comes to heart disease, diabetes, etc. And doing the bare minimum in terms of just physical activity or getting your 5 a day and just getting adequate amounts of sleep, for example, is probably only going to provide you with a certain amount of benefit in comparison to if you're having more than your 5 a day. The recommendation is probably 10 portions rather than 5 for optimum benefits, getting more sleep than just the minimum 6-7 hours and getting 9 hours or 10 hours a night, getting more than your minimum 150 minutes of cardiovascular exercise and aiming for at least 3 to 4 hours and doing the minimum of at least 2 weight sessions a week rather than the minimum of 1. All these are going to have massive benefits when it comes to your overall well-being, significantly more than just doing the bare minimum. So I think something to think about on this week's show. Let me know if you've got any thoughts on how you use the term healthy for yourself and how you feel society uses it, and are we using it too loosely, and we should be maybe looking for more excellence when it comes to defining the term healthy in terms of being healthy as an individual and also healthier as a society in general. Wealth-wise, I had an interesting viewpoint today in terms of the government support when it comes to support in the UK when it comes to providing access and support to your energy bills. There was a government grant of about £400 over a number of months that was going to be supporting communities and families in terms of making sure they have enough money or a little bit more money to support the increase in energy bills that have obviously been going up over the last few months. However, in this scenario, the bill provider saw that money that was being provided in order to support them was being deducted from their account, and it transpired that this reduction was actually being paid into their bank account as opposed to being left in their energy account in order to fund and pay their gas and electric bill. It was really interesting insight because we as a society feel that we want support from the government and the energy companies, but they really make people's lives as complicated as possible and as hard and challenging as possible when it comes to understanding your bills. And if this money was support, why are you not just going to keep that in there to fund the account rather than pay the person the money back into their bank account? Because essentially what you have to do if you want aware of this money, you had been given that extra money and you've got extra money in your bank account to spend, which you didn't think was going to be needed to pay your bills, gas and electric. Automatically you would have thought that this money is extra money in your bank account. And maybe if you weren't fully aware of your bank account and actually tracking your ingoings and outgoings as diligently as maybe you could, then that extra money that essentially was going to be paid to provide support for your gas and electric is now being spent on food, socializing, whatever it might be that person is spending that money on. So wouldn't it make more sense if that money was actually just left in which was going to be paying the gas and electric, as opposed to the gas and electric companies paying that money back into your account and then you having to pay that back in or use that to pay the bill, so you're in credit rather than in this situation, the person was in negative credit. So automatically I thought, this is not very good. Why I'm in negative credit when I'm always paying more than my gas and electric? So surely I should be in a positive credit. And it transpired that this money was being paid out. So over time, the credit will go positive. But this just makes it really, really interesting to me how these companies are just trying to make things as complicated as possible rather than making things as simple as possible for people. And rather than thinking, let's not overcomplicate this and just keep it in there and keep them in credit and provide that person with a little bit more stability and security that they're already in credit when it comes to their bills. So, if bills are a little bit higher during the winter, they've got that extra credit to support them during that months. They didn't think about that. They just removed it, and then that person then is left without any clear knowledge of why that money is being paid out. There's no communication. You had to find the information online by Googling, some questions that might have been put out by others. And I think it's really interesting when it comes to a wealth perspective, because unless we really focus on our individual wealth, all these companies, even though they might say they're looking after the customer, only looking after their pockets in terms of the profits they make. And by making things even a little bit more confusing for you, they're not really that fussed because they're bringing in the profits. And the customer service there, it might be very minimal, and a clear communication of why this is going out just to provide some ease and support for people. I think it's really, really valid that these companies maybe need to step up and provide a bit more extra support just to understand how people may feel by seeing negative credit in their accounts when clearly they've been in a positive because they've been paying more than their regular gas and electric bill on a monthly basis consistently. So, as a society, we have to focus on looking after ourselves and understanding this as much as possible, because no one in these big companies are going to provide you with any information. They're just going to take your money, and then if you're in credit or debit, then they're not really going to really care as long as you're paying the bill. So I think the lesson for me this week is certainly really being more mindful of these in and outgoings for that person, and really being understanding how you can really track your money as diligently as possible, learning every incoming and outgoing in your bank account, just so you know and aware of these extra funds and charges that might be being paid by these companies that will just generally increase the fees, providing much more information, or maybe a small email which you might miss in the hundreds of emails you might get every day. So really interesting topic to think about. And do you think, let me know in the comments below, that more companies, such gas and electric companies, should provide more support when it comes to communication around their products, as opposed to you expecting to know the ins and outs of it all. Unless you go out your way to try and find all this information, the information is not clearly laid out on the website or on the apps and stuff like that. So I think it's really important that maybe they need to be more transparent about clearly understanding how they operate, how bills are calculated, and how they are charging you, and why you are in credit or debit. It's really, really simple. And finally, in the world of mindset this week, when I was having some conversations with some patients and doing some health assessments, one person was pretty struggling with an injury, and it was a really interesting mindset shift that this person didn't have. So let me explain, because I was trying to support them and see how they could maybe make this less and maybe go away over time. And their perspective was that they were waiting for the NHS to solve their problem, maybe have an operation or maybe get a little bit of physio. And mindset wise, it's really an interesting shift that we're just expecting other people to solve this problem rather than taking physical action ourselves to actually try and solve the problem. I understand when it comes to the NHS providing support financially to get these things solved. However, if you do have a little bit of extra money and you could maybe go and pay privately to have a physio, why would you not spend that extra money, especially as this person was in a lot of pain and quite upset from the pain they were in? So if this person's in constant pain, then surely you'd want to rectify and remove that pain as quickly as possible by taking action and investing some of your money rather than using that money to suppress any emotion, maybe on food, holidays, etc., and taking action to get this solved. This person, without going into too much detail, was overweight as well. So if they were more active, losing weight, surely the inflammation would be less. They would feel healthier for it. And by taking more action, hopefully they will recover better if they do have to have an operation down the line. So really interesting to view this when it comes to mindset shift, because I feel a lot of time we play quite the victim mentality and we expect others in the world to solve our problems rather than taking physical action ourselves to understand how I can actually make this situation better for myself, as opposed to just waiting for someone to magically solve it for us. Regardless of the situation might not be the fault of them, but obviously they have to understand that they're in that situation now. So by taking physical action, going to take support that they could maybe invest in themselves might not eradicate them of the pain and discomfort they're in from this certain problem, but hopefully will make it more manageable for them in the future. I think that's really, really important and really, a big lesson for all of us to really focus on, because regardless of the situation, there's surely a situation within your own issue, whether you've got an issue or not, that you could probably take action in order to reduce that discomfort or pain that you might be experiencing, whether that's being more active, being more mindful of the situation, the people you're around. If you're struggling with your mental health, if you're struggling with your weight, then obviously there's action you can take when it comes to cutting back on your calories and being more mindful of the food you're eating. If you're not really happy with your job, there's things you can take action about, whether that's removing yourself from the job completely or speaking to someone within the organization, trying to help manage the situation better. But a lot of time, especially maybe here in the UK, we kind of roll over and accept and then just moan behind closed doors rather than actually taking physical action, stand up for ourselves and trying to rectify the situation head on, rather than just magically hoping it will solve itself down the line. And obviously that could be weeks or months or years away. So I think mindset wise this week, really important to take action as much as possible for any situation you're in, and keep taking action on a daily basis to progress forward. Because if you are in a physical discomfort or struggling in any way, and that could be very minor or major, by taking those steps forward on a daily basis, then you're going to be getting yourself closer to solving that situation than you would be if you're just sitting back and moaning about it and hoping it will magically eventually go away by one magic. Isn't that magically going to sort of come your way? For example, if you're looking to improve your finances and you're just hoping that one day you just win the lottery, but you're not actually taking action by going out and doing more work or improving your skill set so you can earn more money, then you could be waiting for years to the rest of your life and then finally die, and you eventually don't ever accomplish anything because you just sat and waited around. So I think it's really vital that regardless of how small that step is, you take action daily to try and improve your situation in whatever situation you're looking to improve on, but take small steps consistently and keep pushing forward in order for things to evolve and improve in whatever way you want them to. So the mindset shift that I've had this week, certainly with people that I've been speaking to. And that wraps up another episode for this week's Wellness, Wealth and Mindset Weekly. Hope you're enjoying the show every week. Let me know in the comments below if you're enjoying the show. And if you haven't subscribed, please head over to wherever you get your podcast and subscribe. And if you'd like to lend us some support by lending us a review over on iTunes, then that will really help out the podcast as well. You can also catch us on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, let me know in the comments below if you're enjoying the show so far, and subscribe if you haven't done already. So thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and we'll see you again next week.